In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, Christ is in our midst. Today we hear in this beginning of the Triodion period, which for many of us is a word that we don't hear very often. And what is the Triodion period is the 3 weeks before the start of Great Lent, where we focus on the developing of virtues. And one of the topics that comes up today in the gospel reading is the virtue of humility. No one, if you think about people around you in your life, no one really likes to be around someone who brags or says how great they are. And likewise, no one wants to be around us if we do that. If we say, look how wonderful I am, look at all the great things I do, look how talented I am. And as small children, we tend to overemphasize our talents or our thoughts of our talents. We always say, watch this, look at this, I can do this, watch me, I'm so good at doing this. And as we grow older, we grow less tolerant with people who have grown, who still make those types of comments. With people, look how good I am at this, or look at all these things that I may have. And the gospel reading today tells us about our disposition as we come before God. Are we supposed to be those who recount how good we are and how thankful we are that we're not like someone else? Or are we supposed to just have a personal connection with God and ask Him for the one thing that we all need, which is His mercy? St. Mark the ascetic speaks about self-justification and humility as being two different things, as one being fire and one being water. In other words, the two can never go together. Fire and water just don't mix. And St. Cyril of Alexandria says it's being prideful and trying to grab for humility is like putting dung on your perfume. In other words, like putting fecal matter on yourself and then rubbing yourself with perfume. It just does not work at the same time. This is St. Cyril of Alexandria, just so you know, that had said this. But it is a great comment, isn't it? But we hear that St. Cyril also says we cannot be fasting and be selfish. We cannot donate and boast. We cannot seek forgiveness and yet judge others. We cannot crown ourselves with our own glory. But sometimes people do that for us, and we just feel that we need to push it along a little bit. You know, Facebook is a wonderfully terrible thing. And the reason I say that is because sometimes you don't have to brag about yourself. Someone else will do it for you. All you have to do is post it. Or all you have to do is retweet it. Or spread it along. Someone says, look how nice, how beautiful your family is. And you don't say it. You just take it and you put it on your page and say, other people are saying how beautiful my family is, how young I look, how smart I am, or how nice things are. And all we do is we promote it and we say, well, they said it, I didn't say it. But at the same time, it becomes a form of expressing ego. Why is ego so bad? Is because we edge God out, is one of the acronyms for ego. But it's a thing that we let into our lives where we push God out and we say to God, you know what, I am good at calling the shots in my own life. I want to say what I feel is good about myself. Others should know how good I am. And Christ does not appreciate that, nor does He have a place for that. And He mentions it today in this parable. Now, if you think about it, the other day, in my presentation, excuse me if I giggle, but it was a funny thing. Now, I had gone to do this house blessing, not here in this community, so everybody can just take a deep breath. This was several years ago. It was like 19 years ago. I did a house blessing, and they invited me to sit in the living room where everything was hermetically sealed. The couch was wrapped in plastic. The end tables were wrapped in plastic. The lampshades were in plastic. The carpet that was white had carpet on top of it. And everything It looked as if they were prepared for some type of crime scene to happen. And for whatever reason, I was allowed to enter into this inner sanctum of this room, which obviously no other human being had ever been in since the establishment of the home. But as I sat in there, I thought exactly what is the point of having this disconnect between things we use and things we do and things that we have. And I thought to myself, my mere presence in this room, probably for these people, stains this room. It's not good enough to be in this room, obviously, because the plastic was not removed for my presence. And as I was sitting there, and I'll tell you this too, because as I was drinking coffee, whenever you have coffee, your temperature starts to raise. But it's a very unique thing when you're sitting on plastic and the temperature goes up, because everything starts to sweat in places that you didn't know existed. And I felt myself sealing to this plastic chair, wondering exactly how holy do you have to be in order to sit on the actual furniture. But my point is, it was not, the room was not allowed, the kids were never in that room, no one was allowed in that room. And I understand the reasoning behind it, and you know, we had our share of plastic growing up as well. But the point that I'm trying to make here is, what do we bring with us? The dirtiness of our lives can stain something. And when we look at the kingdom of heaven, not as a hermetically sealed kingdom, but if we look at the kingdom of heaven and say, it is all good, it is all holy, it is all pure, then what can we bring that's dirty of ourselves into it? And the answer to that is nothing. We can't bring in anything that is negative into the kingdom of heaven. God, why would he want that in there? So we ask for his mercy. So the man who was in the back praying in this gospel reading, the tax collector who was considered the dredge of the earth, he says, forgive me, this horrible sinner. In other words, I need to let this go, this terrible life that I had. And part of the thing is, he didn't go back out and start extorting people for money. He changed his life in that moment. He was justified in that moment in his prayer, and that was the switch of change for him. But likewise, we can switch in the opposite way and decide to bring in the negative things into the kingdom of heaven, or think that we're going to bring those negative things into the kingdom of heaven by saying, Lord, thank you. Thank you for, we're supposed to thank God for all things. I mean, we say it in the liturgy multiple times, but we don't thank him for being better than others. We don't thank him for the opportunity to look down or to judge others. We thank him for the blessings in our life. But when we thank him for being better than other people, we immediately slide down to the point where God looks at our prayer and says, that is not something that can even be embraced in the ear of God. To be judgmental, to be critical of another, or to say how great and wonderful we are. So this gospel reading today tells us that we have to let go of the old in order to properly fast. We have to move past the negative in our life, and we can't look at other people and say, gee, I'm so glad I'm better than them, or to look down on people. And I think many times when we see people who are indigent, even on the streets, we look at them and say, oh, look how dirty they are, or look how did they get there? It doesn't matter how they got there. That's where they are. And what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to help in the ways that we can. I'm not saying go open your door and take the person out for new clothing, but through the ministries of the church, when we reach out to those in need, that is our opportunity to come together and to offer something to those who cannot offer for themselves, whether it's through abuse that they have, mental disability, or just plain old problems in life. We offer those things as a sign of not judging others. And many times we can see where that judgment line comes in when we look at trays. After 9/11, The trays that we collected for the church were huge, all across the United States. Every denomination, every tray, churches were running out of candles. Why? Because everyone was moved to pray, their life, their mortality all of a sudden came to the forefront, no matter what age, and we started rethinking what's going to happen. But as those times go away, slowly we fade from the intensity of the need for prayer. And this gospel reading today tells us that intensity has to be there, but that intensity in prayer has to be asking God for his mercy so that we don't bring in dirt into our lives, that we leave the dirt outside, and that as we approach the kingdom of heaven, that we come clean before God and say, these are the things that I've done, and those are also the things that I've abandoned to do. That's key for Lent. Key in Lent is not just fasting, it's not just praying, but it's making a change in whatever way we can. A small change, a great change, whatever it is, to look at our lives and to say, what am I going to do to come to God and say that I've made mistakes? And in those mistakes, how am I going to change? What am I going to leave behind in Lent? We don't give up something. We fast as a discipline in order to change. So don't just say, well, I'm going to give up, candy canes during Lent, and that's going to be my fast. That's not how it works. It's about a discipline in order to change our lives. So as you listen to this gospel reading today, think about your thoughts that you have in the church. When you look around, and you might, sometimes it happens, and I've heard it from some people, they look and they say, well, I was in church today, and so-and-so, is here, and they sat up in the front row, and they know, this, or they sat in the back, or they came late, or they left early. Whatever the case is, and then if that's where our mindset is in the context of the liturgy, then we lose the whole of what the grace of the services are. If we're looking at each other and worried about each other, then obviously we're not worried about our relationship with God. That's why we face forward. That's why we face the altar. That's why the priest faces the altar too. It's not about you talking to me. It's about all of us talking to God. So as you approach this Lenten season, we're going to break up these weeks, and we're going to examine the ideas and the themes of what each day is. And today is, don't look around at others with judgment. Look at yourself and ask God for help. We all have problems. Some of us are overwhelmed by those problems and don't know where to turn and don't know what to do. This is your time in church, in your little space in church that you have, to present God and to talk with him throughout the liturgy and say, Lord, please help me with what's going on, with school, with work, with my family, with whatever it is, my health, my job, whatever's going on, to reach out to God and to take the moment to look inward and to pray outwardly and to ask God for his mercy, his grace, and never to be thankful that we're not like others, but to be thankful for what we do have and to ask him for the one thing that we need. And that one thing over all things that we need from God is his mercy. Amen.